Hi everyone, welcome to lesson number 41. In this lesson we are going to learn about the direct and indirect objects in the English language, okay? And we're even going to look at how to use them and the difference between them. Knowing how to use the direct and indirect objects in English is so important because they can tell you who is doing something and what is being done. So we're going to begin the lesson by looking at direct objects, which are distinguishable because they answer the question of whom or of what. All right? Now, a direct object. A direct object is easy to spot and to find because it is essentially the receiver, right? It takes the action. It receives the action that's being performed in the sentence. Okay, so let's take a look at a few sentences. She can fly a kite. She can fly a kite. So, in this example, the kite, which is the direct object, is the thing that's being acted on, okay? It's sort of receiving the action from the verb, okay? So the verb in this case is the verb to fly, like a bird flies, a plane flies, okay? You can fly a kite, right? And the verb to fly is directly affecting the kite, okay? Next we have the crowd cheered the winner of the spelling bee competition. The crowd cheered the winner of the spelling bee competition. Okay, so in this example, we're talking about the winner of what we call in English a spelling bee competition. All right, which is a competition in the United States where all the school children compete in a spelling challenge consisting of very, very complicated words, and the one who spells the most words correctly is the winner. Okay, so the winner is like usually number one. He's the person who wins the whole thing. He's the best. Okay. Anyways, back to what I was saying. The winner is receiving the action of the verb, which in this case, the verb is to cheer. Okay. It's the past, cheered, but it comes from the verb to cheer. All right. So the verb here, to cheer, is affecting the winner of the spelling bee competition. Okay, so the winner of the spelling bee competition is receiving the action from the verb, which is to cheer. Okay, all right. In this example of a direct object, we have the garbage collectors empty the dumpsters on Wednesday. The garbage collectors empty the dumpsters on Wednesday. So let's think about what garbage collectors are. What are garbage collectors? Garbage collectors are the people that come to your house or they come to your street and they take all the rubbish. They take all the garbage and the trash from those big, large containers. Okay, you'll see these big, large containers. Oftentimes they're located near apartments. And everybody from the apartment building comes and they throw their trash in these large dumpsters. Okay, a dumpster is essentially a very, very, very big trash can. Okay, and the garbage collectors collect the dumpsters, the trash from the dumpsters. Okay, so garbage is another way of saying trash. Okay, sometimes in English you'll hear this too. We don't just call it garbage collectors. We also say trash collectors. The trash collector, the garbage collector. Garbage collector is more popular. Me, for example, I'm from California, and everybody in California, we always say garbage collectors, okay? I think mostly in the United States, most people say garbage collectors. But in terms of the things that you throw in the dumpster, we call it trash, okay? I throw trash in the dumpster. You could say I throw garbage in the dumpster as well, okay? You could say garbage, but I think trash, in that case, is more popular as a word. I hear it more, all right? So the garbage collectors empty the dumpsters on Wednesday. What day do they empty it? On Wednesday. So in this example, the dumpsters are the direct object. So we're talking about direct objects, and the dumpsters, okay, plural. They are the ones who are receiving the action, okay? And empty is a verb, and it means to make clear, okay? To get rid of, to make it empty, to make something zero, okay? Nothing. Okay, so we're making the dumpsters have nothing inside. All right, now let's look at this one, okay? This is our last one for direct objects. The teacher teaches English, which is super easy. Okay, the teacher teaches English. This one you should find very easy because, let's look at it. The teacher, like a professor at a university or somebody at a school like me. In this case, I'm a teacher teaching English. Teaches is the verb coming from the verb to teach. All right. And then we have English. Okay, what is English? English is the direct object. Okay, so the teacher is the subject, teaches is the verb, and the direct object that's receiving the action from the verb is the English language, which is the direct object. Okay, all right guys, so now that we've seen a few examples here with direct objects, let's turn our attention to indirect objects. All right, we're going to look at a few examples with indirect objects. They're very easy to look at, to find, to spot, because they can even coincide with a direct object in a sentence. So oftentimes you'll see an indirect object and a direct object together. Okay, so it's also very easy. Indirect objects are usually a person or a thing, and they answer the question of to whom did something happen to, or for what, like for what reason. Now, an indirect object can take the form of a noun or a pronoun, and unlike a direct object where it's acted upon by a verb, the indirect object receives the direct object. Okay, so let's take a look at some examples. Indirect objects. Tony handed the telephone to his father. Tony handed the telephone to his father. So as you can see here, the verb is to hand, right? Which is synonymous with to give, meaning to give somebody something, to hand somebody something. The direct object is the phone, okay? The telephone. So that's the direct object in this case. And then where's the indirect object? Do you know where the indirect object is? The indirect object, remember, is the person or the thing that's receiving the direct object, which in this case is the father, okay, the dad. All right, so the dad is the indirect object and the telephone in this example is the direct object. Okay, now the word to, in this case, you'll see oftentimes to. Now, this word here, we don't have to always use it, but the word, when we do use it in our examples, the word to helps to transfer the direct object here all the way to the indirect object. Okay, so you'll see it. Tony handed the telephone. Now let's go ahead and transfer the telephone to the indirect object to his father. So we need that word to in this sort of example. Okay, however, like I said before, you don't always have to use the word to. It's not always required. If, for example, you rearrange the sentence by placing the indirect object after the subject, okay, so the indirect object is here, and if you put it after the subject, then you put it over here, then you don't need that word to. So you can get rid of it. Like, let's look at the same phrase but written in a different way. So we have Tony handed the telephone to his father and Tony handed his father the telephone. Do you see the difference? Tony handed his father, which comes in the middle now, it's more like that, the telephone. The direct object is the telephone and the direct object comes at the end. Okay, so Tony handed, verb, his father the telephone. We don't need that word. We don't need to. Okay, we only need to when we have the telephone here and then the indirect object after. So direct object and then indirect object. We need the to. But if we have an indirect object and then a direct object, we don't need it. Okay? Let's look at some more examples. The police offered help to the old lady. Same thing. Very easy. The police offered help to the old lady. Okay? And the police offered the old lady help. Okay? The police offered the old lady help. So the old lady is what we're giving help to. Okay? And then we have help to, right? We need that word to transfer help to the old lady. Okay? But in this example, we don't need it because we have the old lady first and then after we have help. Okay? So remember, help is the direct object, and the old lady is the indirect object. It's the person that's receiving the direct object, okay? They're taking the direct object. All right, I'm gonna turn like this, guys. Now we're gonna read these ones. The politician gave empty promises to the citizen of the country. The politician gave empty promises to the citizens of the country. Or you could say, the politician gave the citizens of the country empty promises. Again, we have that word to here, but in this one we don't need to. The politician gave empty promises. A promise is something that you make, right? You make a promise and you keep it. Okay, a promise is when you tell people that you're going to do something. I promise you that I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. But the politician gave empty promises, meaning he lied, okay? It's not for real. He made a whole bunch of promises, but he didn't keep his promises to the citizens of the country. Same example here, just it's a little bit different because in this one, what do we have? Why is this one different? Well, we have the indirect object that comes first, which are the citizens, because indirect objects are people or things that receive the direct object, which the direct object in this case are the empty promises. Oh, you know what? There's a mistake here, guys. Promises. Promises. Okay. Much better. Sometimes spelling can be a little hard in English. Sometimes you'll have two S's, sometimes you'll have just one S, and they sound exactly the same, and you don't know whether to write one S or you don't know whether to write two S's. There's a lot of examples like that in the English language. Unlike other languages like Spanish or a few others where everything is spelled exactly how it's pronounced almost, English is not really like that. English is a language that you have to memorize the spelling for a lot of words, and that can be complicated sometimes. Okay, let's look at the next one. He brought some flowers to them. Ooh, look at, we have them. Remember, we're referring to they as people, multiple people. He brought some flowers to them versus he brought them some flowers. Okay, so them is a pronoun. Them is a pronoun. They're the people that are receiving the direct object, which in this case are the flowers. Notice we have the word to, because the to transfers the flowers to them, okay, to the people, but we don't need it here. Dad read a book to her, again, pronoun, about Cinderella. Cinderella, you know, she has the stepmother and she has the stepsisters and she wants to go to the ball with the prince and she has a glass slipper and a fairy godmother. Dad read her a book about Cinderella. Again, we don't need the word to. And then let's look at our last two examples, okay? They brought some chocolates to me, okay? And they brought me some chocolates. Okay, so everybody, I hope this lesson cleared up some of the confusion you may have had about direct and indirect objects, and now hopefully it will be easier to distinguish between the two, you know, to be able to tell, oh, this is a direct object and this one right here, this is an indirect object. I know the difference, right? So anyways, that's all for this lesson today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so we can expand it and include much more things for, you know, English grammar and vocabulary and all this stuff, all right? We want to expand this channel, make it really big. So with your help, we can maybe do that. Thank you, as always. Thank you for watching, and I'll definitely see you next time.